It was a Thursday afternoon when my life began to unravel. Not in some loud, dramatic way, but in the quiet ticking of the clock as I sat at my desk, reading an email that would change everything. My name is Daniel Dan to most, and for the last 15 years, I've lived a carefully constructed life of comfort, routine, and secrets. I'm 47. I work in corporate logistics, and for the past 4 years, I've been married to Simone, beautiful, brilliant, and far too observant for someone trying to keep things buried. We lived in the suburbs, in a home filled with neutral colors, scented candles, and 1,000 tiny reminders that Simone liked everything just so. To anyone on the outside, we were the picture of modern stability. Weekend getaways, matching robes, dual income, no kids. But underneath, there was a crack I was terrified to acknowledge. Because while Simone loved tailored suits and crisp sheets, I had a soft spot for satin. And heels. And the quiet, almost sacred ritual of transformation that came in the stolen hours when I was home alone. I didn't dare call it cross-dressing, not out loud. Not even to myself. That word felt too sharp, too exposed. Instead, I thought of it as borrowing softness. Putting on one of Simone's old blouses, slipping into her discarded pencil skirts. I knew her measurements by heart, almost like I had memorized a fantasy that could never be real. Was it passion? Curiosity? Compulsion? I didn't know. All I knew was that the mirror reflected someone I both feared and longed to become. But I had boundaries. I never let it interfere with my marriage. I was careful, methodical, and above all secretive. Until the day Simone came home early. I should have heard the garage door. Should have heard the jingle of her keys. But I was too deep into it, wig on, lipstick halfway drawn, legs encased in her sheer pantyhose. I was humming, I think, lost in the rhythm of the act, in the way the dress clung to my chest like a promise I'd never dared fulfill. Then her voice, sharp and quiet. Dan? I froze. My first instinct was to run, but where? The bedroom door was half open, and there she was, standing in the hallway, one brow raised, her gaze slowly moving down the length of me. The silence was unbearable. Every second stretched like a year. She didn't scream, didn't cry. She just tilted her head and said, in the calmest tone imaginable, "Well, this explains a lot." The next few days passed in a blur. I expected anger, disgust, maybe a slammed door and suitcases on the front porch. But Simone surprised me. She wasn't mad. If anything, she was curious. "I'm not judging you," she said over dinner the next night, carving her salmon with surgical precision. "But I do think we need to talk about this part of you." I couldn't meet her eyes. It was just a phase. "Don't lie to me, Dan," she said, her voice soft but deadly. "You've been doing this for years. And I think it's time we stop pretending." It wasn't a threat. Not exactly. But there was something in her tone I didn't recognize. A kind of power. And beneath it a spark of mischief that both frightened and fascinated me. 3 nights later, after I had locked myself in the guest room and cried quietly into a pillow, Simone knocked. "I have a proposition," she said simply. I opened the door slowly. "You like wearing women's clothes? Fine. Let's explore that. But not in the shadows, Dan. Let's do it on my terms. Openly. Honestly. And yes, a little playfully." "What are you saying?" "I'm saying you've been hiding in the closet for years. Let me help you come out, but only if you agree to my rules." I should have said no. I should have shut the door. But something in me, some tired, hidden piece, wanted to stop lying. "What rules?" She smiled then. Slow. "Dangerous. You'll dress for me. As my little housemaid. In full uniform. Around the house. Every evening. No exceptions. In return, I won't tell a soul. Not your friends. Not your boss. Not your mother." My heart dropped. "You're blackmailing me?" "I'm liberating you," she said, stepping closer. "One frilly apron at a time." That night, she handed me a box. Inside was a neatly folded French maid outfit complete with lace, ruffles, a satin petticoat, and a name tag that read Danielle. I swallowed hard. "I can't wear this." She raised an eyebrow. Then I suppose I'll need to make some calls. My hands trembled as I took the outfit and disappeared into the bathroom. As I dressed, I stared at myself in the mirror, this strange, beautiful parody of a man trying not to disappear. When I walked out, Simone gave a slow, appreciative nod.
Now, she said.
Let's start with the floors. From that first night, everything changed. Simone didn't just want me in the maid uniform, she expected precision. She printed out a schedule: morning dusting, afternoon folding, evening serving. There were written checklists. Tasks had to be done in heels. Makeup on. Wig secure. Not a single speck of dirt allowed. Posture, she snapped on day 3. Danielle, stand like a lady. Back straight, hands delicate. It wasn't about chores. This was control. Ritual. A slow erosion of the old Daniel. She corrected me constantly. No stomping. No grunting. Say, yes, mistress. The word made my skin flush with shame and something disturbingly close to thrill. I was becoming her project and she was meticulous. Simone installed cameras. For accountability, she said. But I knew better. Every night, she'd review the footage. Sometimes she laughed. Sometimes she took notes. And sometimes she called me in to discuss improvements. She made me curtsy before speaking. She replaced all my boxers with frilly pink panties. My closet, my real clothes vanished. You won't need them anymore, she said flatly. Even weekends became training grounds. You want freedom? She asked, sipping wine. Earn it, Danielle. Show me you're ready to be the best maid I've ever had. And God help me, I tried. 2 weeks in, Simone invited guests. They're just friends from work, she said. They don't know anything yet. I protested. Begged. But she silenced me with a single look. You'll serve dinner in full uniform. Speak only when spoken to. Smile sweetly. Understood. I nodded, face burning. When they arrived, I played the role. Good evening, I murmured, curtsying low. My voice cracked. My knees shook. But I smiled and refilled wine glasses with trembling grace. Simone beamed with pride. You were almost perfect, she whispered later. Almost. Simone's rules evolved. She handed me books on etiquette, forced me to study old-school housewife manuals, made me wear gloves when dusting, stockings every day. You're not just a man in a dress, she said. You're becoming someone delicate, proper, feminine. She made me practice walking for hours. You slouch when you're tired, she warned. Do that in public and everyone will know. She hinted at bigger plans. There's a costume ball next month, she said one night, flipping through a catalog. Wouldn't it be poetic? My lovely maid. Introduced to the world. I froze. I'm not ready. You'll never be ready, she said. But you'll go. A strange shift crept into me. Shame turned to nervous excitement. Resistance softened into obedience. I found myself caring about the hemline of my skirts, the shade of my lipstick, the way Simone's eyes lit up when I did things just right. And beneath all of it, I couldn't deny it anymore. I liked the way she looked at me now. Not as a husband, not even as a man, but as her creation. One evening, after a particularly intense lesson in curtsying, Simone brought me to the bedroom mirror. Tell her who she is, Simone said. I'm Daniel, I stammered. Simone shook her head. No. Not anymore. Look again. I stared. My face was flawless. Lips glossy, eyes big and soft behind fake lashes. My figure padded into something close to curves. My dress fit like second skin. I'm Danielle, I whispered. Louder. I'm Danielle. Simone smiled. Good girl. Everything else in my life withered. My job suddenly remote, thanks to Simone's interference. My friends barely returned texts. My hobbies replaced by baking lessons and vacuum drills. She adjusted my schedule, diet, even sleep. No coffee unless served with proper etiquette, she said. Bedtime by 9:30 sharp. I wasn't allowed to sleep in anything but silk nighties. My voice was trained every morning, repeating phrases. Yes, mistress. How may I serve? Would you like more tea, madam? My old identity, my male self, was being erased, pixel by pixel. And I was too deep in lace to stop it. One day, my mother called. Dan, everything okay? You sound different. I nearly choked on my words. I was wearing a baby doll nightgown, wig half on, toenails wet with polish. I'm fine, I managed. Just busy with house stuff. She sighed. I miss you. Simone's not keeping you too busy, is she? I looked at the mop in my hand, the lipstick stain on my teacup, the shadow of Simone standing behind me with arms crossed. No, Mom, I said softly. I'm just finding a new rhythm. One evening, while scrubbing baseboards, I found something under the bed. A leather-bound journal. At first, I hesitated, but curiosity won. I opened it. Inside, detailed notes.
Dates.
Progress logs. Photos of me in different stages. Comments like, Week 3, he cries less when zipping up the Maid dress. Week 5, increased compliance after mirror routine. Add praise. End goal. Integration complete by week 12. My hands trembled. This wasn't just a power game. This was a transformation plan. That night, I confronted her. You planned this. All of it.
She didn't deny it.
I love you, she said simply. But I knew you weren't happy as him. You needed help becoming her. Tears filled my eyes. You tricked me. No, Danielle, she whispered, wiping a tear from my cheek. I freed you. And as I stood there in full makeup, heart pounding, I realized something terrifying. She might be right. Simone was waiting at the kitchen table one morning, sipping espresso in a black silk robe. A crisp white envelope rested between her fingers. She slid it toward me. A masquerade charity ball, she said. Everyone from my office will be there. And you're coming. My breath caught. In what? As who? She smiled. As yourself, of course. As Danielle. I stammered. You can't be serious, Simone. That's public. She cut me off with a single look.
Danielle.
It's time. Simone doubled my training. Walking in 5-inch stilettos became daily routine. I had to greet her with a perfect curtsy every time she entered the room. She coached my laugh to sound light and feminine. My voice lessons now included flirting exercises. Say it like you want them to fall for you, she would purr. One morning, she handed me a perfume bottle. This is who you are now. A scent for Danielle. Spray it and feel her rise. Every day blurred more into submission. Every reflection looked more like her and less like whoever I used to be. 2 of Simone's friends, glamorous, confident women, dropped by one afternoon. They called out from the front door. Simone whispered to me, "Open it. As you are." I panicked. No, please. But it was too late. I opened the door in my frilly Maid uniform, cheeks burning. Oh my God. One of them squealed. Simone. She's adorable. Simone beamed. Isn't she? Meet Danielle. She's my personal maid. Very obedient. I served tea. They laughed and gushed over me like a prized poodle. One even patted my head. Later, I sobbed into my pillow. But beneath the humiliation, part of me felt alive. A week before the ball, Simone took me to a boutique on the edge of town. The kind that specialized in gowns and discretion. The seamstress didn't blink when Simone said, "We need something to flatter Danielle's figure. She's new to public life." I stood there, numb, as they measured me, adjusted padding, and debated pastel versus pearl. The final choice, a shimmering champagne satin gown with off-shoulder sleeves and a dangerously tight waist. When I saw myself in it, I barely recognized the girl in the mirror. "She's perfect," Simone whispered. I didn't argue. On the night of the ball, Simone dressed me slowly. She did my makeup flawless, tightened my corset mercilessly, slid earrings into my pierced ears, fastened the collar with a delicate charm that read, D. As we stood at the door, she kissed my cheek. "Tonight, Danielle, you are mine. Fully. No hiding." My hands shook. My knees barely held. But I nodded. "Yes, mistress." The words came easier now. The ballroom was a fantasy: chandeliers, masks, flowing gowns. No one suspected. Or, if they did, no one said a word. I danced with strangers, smiled politely, curtsied with grace. Simone introduced me as her companion, her darling, her maid, her wife in training. Someone whispered, "She's breathtaking," as I walked by. And I felt it, that dizzying, terrifying thrill. Danielle wasn't just a disguise. She was becoming real. Midway through the night, during a waltz, Simone leaned in and whispered, "You've earned this."
She slipped off my mask.
I gasped. "People will see." She looked straight into my eyes.
Good.
And just like that, Danielle wasn't hidden anymore.
People clapped, complimented me.
Even flirted. I waited for shame, for panic. But it didn't come. Only one thought echoed in my mind.
This is who I am now.
I woke up still in the gown. My heels were kicked off near the bed. My wig askew. Simone was already sipping tea beside me. "You were beautiful last night," she said. I blinked. "Aren't you ashamed?" She laughed. "Ashamed? Danielle, I've never been prouder." She handed me a box. Inside, a delicate necklace. A heart with tiny letters engraved. "Property of Mistress Simone." Tears welled in my eyes. I didn't speak. I just fastened it around my neck. Simone sat beside me at the computer. "I took the liberty of drafting your resignation."
From your job.
"It's time to let go completely." I stared at the screen. "To whom it may concern." Every word felt like closing a door behind me. Simone whispered, "One last step, Danielle. Give yourself to this fully." And so, I clicked send. In that moment, the last piece of Daniel died. My days now began with Simone brushing my wig, tying my apron, and assigning tasks with a kiss on the forehead. She called me her pride, her darling, her pretty little maid. We no longer argued. There was no power struggle. Only obedience. Only grace. Only Danielle. Danielle opened the mailbox, expecting bills and catalogs. Instead, a plain envelope. No return address. Inside, a photo of Danielle at the masquerade unmasked. On the back, "I know who you are. Want to explain this, Daniel?" Her hands trembled. Simone took the photo calmly. "Someone from your past." Danielle nodded slowly. "Someone dangerous." Days later, another envelope arrived. 20-year high school reunion. RSVP now. Daniel's name was printed on the invitation. Simone smirked. "They expect Daniel." Danielle whispered, "But Daniel doesn't exist anymore." "Then it's time they meet Danielle." The next twist came as a call. Mark, an old friend from Daniel's college days. "Hey man," the voice was casual. We all saw the photo. Someone shared it. "What's going on?" Danielle froze. Her world spun. He continued, "Look, I'm not judging, but people are asking questions." The past was clawing at her door, and this time it had claws. That night, Simone poured wine and sat across from Danielle at the vanity. "There's a choice," she said. "We can hide you, disappear, start somewhere new. Or we own it. You face them as you are, not with shame, but pride." Danielle looked into the mirror. Rouged cheeks, lush lashes, a maid's uniform hugging her curves. She wasn't sure who would be braver, Daniel pretending to be a man again, or Danielle standing proud. Simone drilled her. "What if they laugh?" I smile. "What if they yell?" I stay calm. "What if they beg Daniel to come back?" Danielle paused. Her lip quivered. "Then I tell them he's gone." Simone insisted on the same glam team that styled CEOs and influencers. Danielle endured full body waxing. Her hair was shaped into soft feminine waves. She was dressed in an elegant lavender cocktail dress with sheer sleeves, pearl jewelry, and nude stilettos. Simone watched approvingly. "You'll be the most unforgettable woman there." The banquet hall was filled with familiar faces, people from a life long dead. Danielle entered, arm in arm with Simone. Heads turned. Gasps rippled. A man whispered, "Is that Daniel?" Another woman squinted, then muttered, "No, can't be." But she heard one thing clearly. "She's stunning." "Brian, Daniel's former bully, approached. Dan? What the hell? Danielle smiled. It's Danielle now. You're kidding, right? This is a joke. No joke, Simone said coldly. She's my wife. Brian blinked. Wait, wife. Yes, Danielle said clearly. And I've never been happier. Tina Daniel's high school girlfriend cornered her near the punch table. Her voice dripped venom. You're a disgrace. I'm finally living honestly, Danielle replied. Tina leaned in. Everyone's laughing at you. Simone appeared behind her.
Funny.
All I see are people who wish they looked half as confident as my Danielle. Tina stormed off. Danielle's heart raced. But inside, a flicker of triumph lit up. Not everyone was cruel. A former classmate named Rachel approached. I didn't understand it at first, she said. But seeing you now, you seem free. Danielle blinked back tears. I am. For the first time. Rachel smiled. I'm happy for you. The photographer called for a group photo. Danielle hesitated. Eyes bore into her from every direction. Then Simone squeezed her hand. You belong there. She walked to the front, flashed a smile.
Click.
Immortalized. The photo spread online. Comments poured in. Some cruel. Many curious. But more than anything admiring.
Wow. Brave.
She looks incredible. Takes guts to live like that. Danielle stared at the screen, stunned. Simone kissed her cheek. Told you. You're unforgettable. Mr. Halberd, Daniel's ex-boss, reached out. I don't know what you're doing, he grumbled. But you're making headlines. I just want to say, Danielle braced herself. We were wrong to fire you. We just didn't understand. But we see you now. She was speechless. Danielle began receiving invitations to speak, to model, to attend events as herself. The world was responding, not to Daniel's resume, but to Danielle's authenticity. She stood straighter now, walked taller. Her voice no longer wavered. Late one night, Danielle pulled a dusty box from the closet. Danielle's old things. A wallet, a suit,
A watch.
She held them, then carried the box to the fireplace. Simone lit the match. Together, they watched it burn. No more shadows. No more hiding. Only light. Danielle now woke before Simone. Her mornings began with carefully steaming Simone's blouses, preparing her almond milk latte, and setting her outfit for the day. She no longer needed reminders. Her schedule had evolved into something instinctive: maid, wife, submissive. And she loved it. Simone had a surprise. A formal course, she said. If you're going to be my full-time maid, why not be certified? Danielle was stunned. An etiquette and domestic management class for women. She hesitated only a second, then nodded. Enroll me. On day one, Danielle walked in with her hair in a tight bun, her pencil skirt fitted perfectly, makeup immaculate. The other women eyed her. One whispered, "She's trans. You can tell." Another said, "But look how well she moves in heels." By the second week, they weren't whispering anymore. They were asking Danielle for mascara tips. She was no longer pretending to belong.
She did.
Danielle's final exam came in the form of Simone's high-end dinner party. 12 guests. All powerful. All judgmental. Simone didn't want a caterer. She wanted her. Danielle cooked, served, refilled wine, and curtsied at every turn. The guests were stunned. "She's so poised," one said. "Does she always serve in heels and lipstick?" Simone smiled. "Only when she wants to impress me." Danielle beamed, blushing behind her lashes. One night, after dinner, Simone summoned Danielle. "I've been patient," she said. "But now I want to formalize your submission." Danielle trembled in her corset and satin robe. Simone held a contract. House rules. Behavior expectations. Full obedience clauses. Danielle read every word, then picked up the pen and signed it. Simone had one final surprise. A couple's retreat. All women, except Danielle. She would attend as Simone's submissive maid, and no one was to know she was ever a man. 3 days. 24/7 service. No breaks.
Danielle panicked.
"I can't. You will, Simone said. Or, I can invite Daniel back. Danielle's stomach dropped.
No.
I'll go. I'll be perfect. At the retreat, Danielle was introduced as my loyal maid and companion. She served meals, fluffed pillows, and endured compliments. She's so feminine. Where'd you find her? Danielle smiled.
Curtsied.
Inside, fear churned. Any misstep could unravel everything. A guest, Veronica, was suspicious. She's too quiet. Too perfect. Something's off. Danielle overheard. That night, she cried silently. Simone held her. You're perfect to me. Let them doubt. You'll prove them wrong. During the closing ceremony, each maid presented a personal letter of service to their mistress. Danielle's letter was handwritten in lavender ink. She knelt before Simone, reading, You took away Daniel and gave me a woman I never dared to be. Thank you. I live to serve you now, fully and forever. The room fell silent. Then applause. Even Veronica nodded slowly. Danielle was now certified, broken in, tested, and polished. Her days revolved around corsets, chores, curtsies, and obedience. Her nights belonged entirely to Simone, sometimes as her wife, other times as her possession. She never asked when it had shifted from roleplay to reality. It didn't matter. She didn't want to stop. One evening, Simone knelt in front of her with a velvet box. Inside, a new ring. Delicate. Feminine. Rose gold. For my perfect wife. Will you be mine not just in title, but in soul? Danielle wept. Yes, mistress. I already am. Danielle legally changed her name. New ID. New passport. New life. Daniel's name was erased. Not in shame, but liberation. She belonged now, not just to Simone, but to the identity they built together. One morning, Danielle stood naked before the mirror. Her body had softened. Hips rounded. Breasts budding from Simone's continued estrogen treatments. Skin glowing. She touched her cheek. Whispered, I'm not pretending. And smiled. One final test came as a knock. Her mother. Danielle froze. They hadn't spoken since the beginning. Mrs. Bennet looked her up and down. You look different. I am, Danielle said softly. I'm happy. A long silence. Then, can I come in? Over tea, Danielle told her everything. The maid uniform.
Simone.
The surrender. Her mother listened, then reached out. You were always my soft one. I just didn't know how much you needed someone strong. Tears flowed. Danielle felt whole. Finally. Danielle wasn't playing a role anymore. She was living a truth dressed in lace, serving in heels, loving as a woman. Simone looked at her with pride. My perfect little maid. And Danielle, curtsying with grace and love, whispered the words that sealed her fate. Forever yours, mistress. Simone announced it during brunch. We've been invited to a charity gala.
High profile.
Everyone will be there. I want you with me, Danielle. Danielle's fork froze. As your maid? Simone smiled. As my wife. The gown shimmered like moonlight. Ivory silk. Corseted bodice. Flowing skirt with a slit up to the thigh. Danielle had never worn something so glamorous. She stared at herself in the mirror. Soft waves in her hair. Diamond earrings. Bold lashes. Lipstick the color of crushed roses. Simone stood behind her. No one will ever doubt what you are tonight. Danielle exhaled. I'm ready. The ballroom buzzed with wealth, power, and eyes. Danielle clung to Simone's arm at first, then slowly found her confidence. She mingled.
Laughed.
Talked fashion, interior design, wines. Not a single person suspected she'd ever been Daniel. But then, a man from Simone's past, an old friend, stared too long. Have we met before? He asked Danielle. Her voice faltered. Her hands shook. Simone swooped in. This is Danielle, my wife. Perhaps you're thinking of someone else. He shrugged. Danielle whispered. Did I ruin it? Simone cupped her face.
No.
You passed. A week later, a magazine ran a spread from the gala. One page featured Danielle and Simone captioned, "Power couple, Simone Blake and her mysterious, glamorous wife." Danielle nearly fainted. She was published, immortalized, and no one knew or cared. She was simply
Danielle.
One day, a box arrived. Simone brought it to her. Inside, Daniel's old clothes,
Jeans.
button-downs, sneakers, his last pair of men's boxers. Danielle recoiled like it was poison. Simone asked gently, "What should we do with them?" Danielle answered without hesitation, "Burn it." That night, they built a fire in the garden. Danielle dropped each piece of Daniel's clothing into the flames. The cotton crackled, buttons melted, smoke rose like a ghost exorcised. By the end, she was sobbing. Simone held her tightly. "You're free now." Simone presented Danielle with legal documents. Her name change was finalized. Gender marker updated. Passports. Bank accounts. Insurance. "There's no Daniel left anywhere," Simone said softly. Danielle whispered, "That's what I wanted." Simone added one more document.
A will.
Naming Danielle as her wife. As a final symbol, Simone offered a collar or something better. A tattoo. Discreet. Elegant. Personal. Danielle chose the back of her neck. A delicate lace ribbon tattoo, tied in a bow. Beneath it, SB. Simone's initials. The moment the ink settled, she wept. She was marked.
Owned. Loved.
Simone's birthday arrived. Danielle had been planning for weeks. She recreated their first dinner down to the wine, candles, even her trembling voice. She danced for Simone in a sheer maid's outfit, heels taller than comfort, and a corset tight enough to reshape her breath. Simone cried, "This is all I ever wanted." Danielle said, "Me too." In private, Danielle wrote a letter to Daniel. "You were strong. You endured so much. But you weren't truly alive. I took your place, not out of cruelty, but because I was always inside you, waiting to bloom." She folded it, then burned it. The Etiquette Academy invited Danielle to speak. Standing before a room full of young women in training, she began, "I wasn't always the woman you see today, but I chose this. And now I've never felt more alive." Thunderous applause. She was no longer pretending. She was inspiring. Danielle stood before the mirror again. No fear. No shame. Lingerie hugged her soft curves. Her eyes sparkled with confidence. Her posture screamed grace. She whispered, "You made it." Simone appeared behind her, kissed her neck. "You're perfect." One evening, Simone presented Danielle with a final gift. A permanent locking collar, disguised as a diamond choker. She clipped it on. It clicked into place. Simone whispered, "You belong to me, forever." Danielle smiled, tears shimmering. "I always did." As time passed, Danielle never once asked to go back. She lived every day in soft fabrics, gentle obedience, and loving submission. And when people asked Simone how she found such a perfect maid, such a devoted wife, Simone always smiled and said, "I didn't find her. I made her."